Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, June 10th, 2024. My name is John Pieranunzi, and this is the opening swing. Let's begin today, as we always do, with our news. I can find it here. There we go. Here's our news. Out of Europe, not much. Italian industrial production, that was about it. Europe is softer, about 1%. No real news coming out, except we did have the French election. That was about the only thing. Into the U.S. hours, we're keeping with the theme of nothing, with nothing really happening. A few short-term auctions, that's about it. The market is likely going to be looking ahead to Wednesday when we have our CPI and also our FOMC announcement, as well as our petroleum status report. So not a whole bunch today. It's the Monday after non-farm, kind of traditionally a quiet day. So that's what we have. We're also getting into the summer, but let's discuss a few charts here. We'll begin with the weekly chart. Not a lot of change on the monthly, so no need to check in there. On the weekly chart, however, just kind of circling back to the narrative that we've seen here. We put in an all-time high, pulled back, month of May, exceptionally strong, new all-time high, and we have our first pullback from this new all-time high, stops just around the 5,200 mark, and then we resume higher on the weekly time frame, able to defend this low. It's untested, and we get above the high. So for me, the price action on the weekly time frame is balanced with a skew for higher prices. I refer to as that because buyers are defending the low and showing they're willing to trade and settle above the prior week's high. However, it's still pretty overlapping. We're not really breaking new range. It's sort of balanced, just stretching the range higher. I've also drawn this retracement over the prior week's range because for me, in this kind of balance with the skew for higher prices environment, my initial targets, like for this new week, the initial target above is obviously the prior week's high, and the initial target below is the 50% line of the prior week. So we're looking at, for me, my initial targets on the weekly time frame for this week are the 53.85 halves above our all-time high, and our initial target below is the 53.16s. So that's what I'm looking at on the weekly chart. Let's zoom in a bit and look at the daily. Okay, and here's our daily chart. The big area I've been talking about here, the feature is this fight area between roughly call it 5s to 49s, this fight area, which we tested above and then rejected lower. And that became our 5,200 low. It was our first pullback from the new high I just talked about, and then we resumed higher. Last week was a very strong week. You can see this yellow profile is last week's profile. Here we have, and then on the daily, we made the new high, and then we sort of balanced out. Got above the high, pulled back, got above. And so the daily chart is kind of balancing, pretty much in balance. Friday's range is very important today for me. The Friday low is very important. The Friday high is very important, whether we test either of those prices or we just have an inside day. For me, on a very basic sense here, I'm just kind of going with the theme that we've had, which is pretty much higher prices. And so I'm looking for, if the Friday low holds, I'll probably expect us to drift higher into this HVN region. If the buyers are really strong, maybe continue higher for a test of the high. But really for me, if today is very quiet, the thing to kind of be cautious of is an inside day. But we'll take a look at that on some smaller time frame charts. Let's do that now. Okay, here's our 2-hour chart, which I've been using to look at structure. And we see here's that 05 area I talked about and our 49 area. And then within it, we see our 25s to 33 region, which is an area that I was looking at as support as long as we're above. And that's kind of the theme that I'm holding with here. As long as we hold above really Friday's RTH low is the key area to initially hold or reject below. And if we're able to do that, I would expect just kind of an upward drift. The thing to notice on this chart, on this time frame though, is like I said, when we were trading down here, we started to see these stronger pushes higher that led to our rally. And what I'm just attentive to here is this push that did get the all-time high. So, you know, I'm going to be very attentive to if this support that gave this reaction, if it's still present on further pushes or attempts into this area. But I'm just noting that we've really seen the buyers able to kind of take more territory since we've kind of made this pullback, and I'm noticing it right there. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, the big theme that I'm seeing today is as long as we hold above Friday's RTH low and really the 24 to 33 region, I'll expect us to be holding these higher prices. Let's discuss that on a more granular level on a trigger chart. Okay, here we have our trigger chart. Let's talk about what areas are important. Here we have settlement up to our 60s region, which is the prior week's settle, prior day's settle, and the prior week's VPOC, all in this kind of area right here. Then we have our Friday's RTH low to the overnight low, this region, excuse me. And then we have this swing low here in the 30s area, below that area I mentioned. And then down to this is our Thursday high, I believe, at 12s, and then our 50%, or 12s, which would be below the 50% of the prior week, which is this target area that I mentioned. And then this key band, which is the lower bounds of the range that I was talking about. Above, we have this area from roughly around 75s up to 80s, which is kind of where the offer came in. And then above we have this is one vol up. There's nothing structured above because this is the all-time high, and then our 5,400 strike price. So what am I looking for today? We'll start with a more bullish scenario. I'm really looking for mostly balance today, but we'll begin with kind of a more bullish scenario that could happen, that could potentially give trades. So the first most bullish idea here is if we hold Friday's RTH low. Holding Friday's RTH low, it'd pretty much be a pretty easy bet. Not necessarily easy to trade, but excuse me, but high expectation. If we hold the RTH low, we would push higher, get the test of settlement and the prior week's VPOC. So that would be our first initial test that we look for if we hold the RTH low. If we're able to continue, we also have our 2-day ETH VWAP right in this area. If we're able to get this test and hold higher prices, then the next area that I would be looking for is a test of this like 73 to 75 region here. This would be an area like this region where I would be very open to resistance coming in, pushing us back down to settle, and potentially continuation lower, which could get the prior day's low. But this would be the first area I would be looking at as resistance. If instead we are able to continue higher and take out the Friday high, I would expect resistance above today. Why am I expecting resistance above? There's not really any reason for us to break new ground today. There's no reason except to just continue the theme we've had, which could be enough. But my initial expectation on a test of the 75 region would be resistance, and if we instead are able to get through and we push above, I would expect resistance on the initial test here as well, potentially for a return back to our prior weeks. This is a monthly profile right here. Well, it's May forward, so the month of May forward. So our VPOC of this area is a little bit higher than the prior week's VPOC, which is right in this region. But this is an area that I would expect potentially be tested if we test above and fall back in. This kind of scenario also, I'll note here, could happen with an early test lower, below Friday's low. that may or may not hold this 33.5 area. But regardless, the way that I'm going to be gauging this area is if we hold above Friday's RTH low, I'll look for us to push higher to test the 59.60 region, potentially this 72 to 75 region up here. Alternatively, if we fall lower and test below Friday's low and potentially into this 30 to 33 region, that is an area that I would be open to seeing a test and reversion higher. And the longs would be back on for me above the Friday low. The alternate case, and that could just resume, that would actually probably be the best trade, is a test lower that recovers, gets back into range, and then gives us some type of room to get to the prior settle, prior VPOC region. This whole area that would be nice to target if we get a test below or the test above. It would be not, this could be a potential inside out trade. The alternate case would be if we break the Friday RTH low, cannot get back into range, and then just continue to auction lower, in which case we'd be looking for the tests of the 30s, which I just kind of mentioned, 30s, 33s. And then if we continue lower, then we would be looking for the area I mentioned, the 53.16s down to the 53.12s, which is the 50% line of the prior week. This would be the next area to be tested. I would expect support on an initial test of that area for a return back to the 30s. That's what I would expect. If we cannot get that, a return back to the 30s and likely back into the prior range. If we don't get that, then the next test area obviously would be this lower bounds of our balance. I'm not expecting to see this today. I'm not expecting to see this area get tested. I'll just throw it out there. But again, anything could happen. And you know, a lot of times these days when you think nothing's going to happen, something does happen. But I'm saying I'm not expecting it today, but it could. We'll be ready for it. If we somehow break below this area, I'll be using stock zones to guide me, looking at the 5300s as the next key test. But primarily today, I'm looking for any tests outside of the range to revert. That's what I'm looking for. Obviously, if we don't get that and we get a strong move away from settlement, you know, we just went over our initial targets. What is our nothing scenario? Well, our nothing scenario is kind of a lot like what I just said, which will be potentially tests higher to various areas, and then a return, or tests lower to the same areas and a return. So this is really what I'm seeing today, guys. I'm seeing a lot of balance. I'm not expecting there to be a big reason to move away from the prices we're already trading. Kind of the lower bounds areas I'm looking at, like I said, RTH low. If not, we're looking down to this 33 to 24 region as potential support. If we get below that, we're looking at the 16s to these 12s. These are all areas I'm looking at as support. If bears are really strong, if the bears are really strong today, then they would potentially keep us below this 60 region, which is a prior week's VPOC, prior week's settle, if the bears are really strong. But if they're not, then I could see tests, like I said, going up to around the 75s and getting the reversion there, or potentially for a test of yesterday's high and reverting. But the thing we have to be aware of today, like I said, is an inside day. If an inside day happens, then that could be a very difficult trade in the S&Ps, and I will likely be pretty conservative. But that's what I'm seeing today. I'm thinking the S&Ps will probably be a bit quieter today. This is a day to maybe just kind of check your expectations. I'm expecting a little bit less risk, less reward today, as long as you're trading your plan. And that's what I got for you today. I'm expecting it, like I said, to be a little bit muted. We'll see how it goes. Also, I'll report, today's the first day I am doing the video from a new trading computer. So it's a little bit bumpier today, but it will actually get a lot better, and I'll be able to do better videos with this computer, and it'll be easier for me to maybe do more products. So that's positive. Also note, this new trading computer, a long tradition for me, I name my trading computers. So now I am reporting to you from Bucephalus. That is this new machine's name. Bucephalus is the name of Alexander the Great's horse, for all of you history buffs. I'll let you guys figure out why I chose that name. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope this was helpful to you guys. I hope it was complete. I hope you're having a great morning, and I hope your great morning continues. And of course, I hope that you can make somebody else smile today, because that's really how you can have a good day. That's what I got for you. I wish you all the best of luck. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.